This last video out of this 8 video series that covers each of the tunes on the Mentors project is for the tune called Smoke and Mirrors, and it's dedicated to Don Grolnick, who I talked about in video 7. I never had the pleasure of meeting Don, but there's just a few artists that you just connect with and you're influenced by, and that sort of love that I have for Don's composing and his playing and his producing, it really has pushed me to keep growing and discovering new ways to approach melody, harmony, arrangement, and form. And man, Don's just like a brother, as far as how his writing and who he is as a player makes me feel. Michael Brecker once said that Don's unique writing came from deep within, that he felt one of the characteristics of a really good tune was that if only one note were changed, the tune would suffer and be altered drastically. And in my own writing, it's pretty similar kind of a feeling, because for me, every note, every counterline, voicing, harmonic passage, is a very intentional thing that I've selected to be there, and it's super important. And every moment from the beginning of the piece till the end of a work, it's part of a story. And very much like Don, I think as composers and artists, we should do our best to tell that story well. And when I think of Don's work, it's a lot of different things. It could be really poignant, like a tune like Persimmons. It could be a lot of fun. There's this tune called One Bird, One Stone. He definitely loved, in my opinion, he loved the blues. He had a lot of tunes where he would incorporate a lot of blues-based kinds of ideas. Uncle Bob comes to mind. He has some really beautiful sounding tunes. Four Chords is one that comes to mind. There's a couple of tunes of his that I think are just plain deep. Chime This, which is from one of Michael Brecker's albums, one of his early albums. When Don played, man, he could just swing hard. His swing just felt so good, and his soloing was really incredible. It was really distinctive and unique. He was also a really great record producer. Outside of his own projects, he produced those first 3 Michael Brecker albums, a couple of James Taylor albums, and then individual albums for artists like Bob Berg, John Scofield, and Peter Erskine. And I just love the sound and the performances in those works. I want to talk a bit about Smoke and Mirrors. So Don's music had a playfulness about it, and that's, I think, a component that I really wanted to have with this piece. This piece starts with a kind of a bluesy groove in the rhythm section, and it's soon joined by like this bass clarinet. And I bring the whole band into the sort of the B section, kind of easy, and build it. And it's when I get to that C section, the third section, it's followed by this very blues-based vamp. And that's sort of the bulk of the tune itself. Let's see, harmonically I spent a ton of time developing the chord progression, and it carefully modulates to different tonal centers, and then gets back to the original key, but it's not necessarily obvious to the listener. It's like I'm just sort of kind of leading you away from the original key kind of carefully to where you don't really know you're drifting away from it, and then bring you back. And it's a challenge to make that work. You have to make these little small tweaks in your harmony along the way, and make sure that you're gradually guiding the listener to new places, and then also helping them find their way back. And it took a while on this particular piece to write. I didn't really have any sort of deadlines on this whole project for the writing. I gave myself whatever time I needed. So this particular piece, I spent like a month or so developing it, and just being able to like do a first draft and refine it, and just keep working on it until I felt really satisfied. But I'm really happy with how this entire album has turned out. and what I was able to create on this particular piece as well. And I think this piece matches sort of Don's philosophy that every note's important in a great tune. And I'm really proud of this work.